Now things are starting to snowball. It's good to see y'all this morning. So how you been? Had a good week, everybody? Great? Yeah? Everybody doing all right? That's perfect. So trying to figure a few things out. We moved our service a little bit, and now as a result, everything is we have to learn everything again when you move. So hey, we're going to be studying today in the book of Genesis, chapter 18 today. So I want to just warn you. I better warn you today. I'm going to be a little bit rough today on Abram and Sarah. All right? Julie's like over there going, "Oh my goodness." Oh no. Well, you remember last week that we talked about a guy by the name of Abram, and he had been circumcised, right? And there was this big thing about circumcision, and some people were like, "Oh my goodness, what's he talking about?" That's just, but the deal is, what we learned is that this circumcision of the flesh is circumcision of the flesh. What really matters is circumcision of your heart. That's a sign of circumcision of your heart, that there's been a heart change, that you've surrendered to God, that you've done what God wants, you've been obedient to God. So what we have now is really hardly any time has passed since this happened in the circumcision. You might even still be walking funny, I don't know. But the issue is a little strange in that now there's going to be a test. Was your circumcision legit? Right? Like, was your circumcision just flesh? Right? Was your circumcision just in your flesh? Or was there an actual real circumcision in your heart? That's going to be the test. Because you can have circumcision in the flesh. You can do things like get baptized in the flesh. You can do things like take communion in the flesh. You can do fleshly things, and they don't mean anything if your heart hasn't been changed. The important thing is the circumcision of the flesh. And so as we look at this, not much time has passed, and a cat's going to show up. You may know him as Jesus. We'll see this in a second. Genesis chapter 18. Now, let me say this. I told you I was going to be a little rough maybe on them. As I'm rough, I don't want you to feel as though I'm being judgmental and looking down in judgment upon Sarah and upon Abraham. I think it looks like that sometimes, that I am here and I'm looking down at them and I'm saying, boy, you guys really screwed this whole thing up. All right, you messed this whole thing up and you guys are bad. Good thing I would never do that. Here's the thing. When we go through this and we study Abram, I see myself in Abram all the time. And so when I bring down judgment upon him, I am looking and seeing the huge, gigantic telephone pole in my own eye. All right? I am seeing that. I'm realizing, man, the reason this is such an important passage is because it's me. I see myself in this. I am just like Abram. I am just like Sarah. Right? So here, let's open up. We're going to look at it. Genesis chapter 18. And this is the test. It says, verse 1, "The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre while we were sitting at the entrance to the tent in the heat of the day." So you got this old guy, he's like 99 years old, and it's really hot out, right? Probably between 110 and 120 in the shade, and that's not good. I have trouble coming from Seattle when it gets like in the high 70s, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm baking, right? But that's what he's doing. He is sitting in his tent. The tent's where the shade is, and he's sitting on his porch. You see this old guy rocking in his rocking chair on his porch. That's kind of the way I picture this guy. And as he's doing that, he sees some people walking, right? 3 dudes walking along in front of his house. And he's like, that's not good, right? It's 100 and some degrees out here. These guys are, this is not smart, right? To be walking. I need to do something for them, right? What we're seeing here is that there has been a heart change, there has been a life change. Circumcision of his heart has happened because he is going to go into all kinds of hospitality. He sees a stranger on the side of the road, he sees a person who is in need, he sees somebody walking around, and he doesn't just ignore it, right? It'd be easy. He doesn't know these guys from anybody, right? They're just out walking around, and he comes in and he says, I am going to show these people love. I'm going to show hospitality, because hospitality is one of the central features of being a Christian. It's very important, right? Throughout the Bible, hospitality. Watch how he does this. Watch this. It says, Abram looking up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them, and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by." Now, there's a little bit of debate as to whether this guy knows who this cat is that's there, right? There's some debate. Some versions will say, "My Lord," and it'll say capital L, capital O, capital R, Yahweh, right? I don't think that's what's happening. And one of the reasons I don't think it's happening is because when we read in the book of Hebrews, actually, let's get to this. If you got a Bible, turn to Hebrews chapter 13, 13:2. Gotta find it. It says, "Do not forget to entertain strangers, for by doing so, some people have entertained angels without knowing it. Remember those in prison as if you were their fellow prisoners, and those who are mistreated as if you yourself were suffering." I think this is a reference that he's making to this in the Old Testament, that Abraham here did not know that he was entertaining angels at the time. Okay? I think this is a veiled reference to that, and that there are times when you are providing you could be providing hospitality to just a stranger, and you're being good to strangers, and you might be providing some type of hospitality to Jesus himself. We see even in the New Testament, if you go to Matthew chapter 25, I'll just throw this in, we'll get this for free. Matthew 25. Let's look at that real quick, and then we'll get on to it. I had to grab one of the free Bibles that's up there because that's what this is here. Somehow my Bible took up legs on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I went to study the Bible and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I'm like, I must have been carrying it somewhere, and I put it down somewhere. I don't know, maybe I had to go to the bathroom. I don't know what happened, but it wasn't good. Here's what it says in Matthew chapter 25, verse 31. It says, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on the right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was a prisoner, and you came to visit me.'" You're like, really? When did that happen? "Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you?'" Right? We didn't know it was you. We didn't know we were doing that for you. Right? "When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothing and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did for the least of these brothers, you did it for me." Right? How is he determining this? He's seeing if they have a circumcised heart. Has their heart been transformed? Has their heart been changed? Right? He's separating them by how they respond, right? And hospitality is at the key of that. How do you treat people? Right? How do you respond to people? When they're in need, do you just drive by? Or do you stop and say, "Listen, what can I do for you?" You know? Watch how, let's go back here. Let's look at this. Watch how Abram deals with a person. He doesn't know who they are. They're just out and about. Watch this. It says, "When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, 'If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by.'" He doesn't know this is Jesus yet. He doesn't know one of these guys is Jesus. And the other two are angels. "Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under the tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed, and then go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." Right? So he's putting out the full thing. I mean, normally, let's say you got some cat just walks by my house and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, can I borrow your phone?" right? I'm like, all right, well, you know, okay, well, yeah, here's my phone, and why don't you stay outside, right? I don't want you coming in the house, you know. My wife will get mad if she didn't clean for you, right? And we don't have a whole lot. Not Abraham, right? What does Abraham do? Abram's like, hey, let's get the best dishes, right? You stay here, put your feet up. This is my recliner. Put your feet up, right? I want you guys to chill real quick. All I've got is pork and beans in here, so I got to go get some steak down on Fairway, and I'll be back. We're going to watch him. This is incredible. He said, very well, he answered. Do as you say. So Abram hurried into the tent to Sarah. Quick, he said, get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread. Now that's weird. 36 pounds is what that is. 36 pounds of flour. For 3 people, right? It's extravagant. God is extravagant. Our hospitality for people should be extravagant. We should go above and beyond where people say, wow, why is this person different than everyone else? Why does this person treat me so kindly? Why does this person, man, when we was in Seattle, you'd go in downtown Seattle and it's a nightmare. It's like Chicago, man. I don't know how many times you walk down in Chicago, and it's just like a nightmare. They walk around, there's people all over the place, and dirty, and people hadn't slept in a day. And in Seattle, everybody's kind of tweaked out, you know, and they've been on some kind of drugs or something, and it's just kind of scary. It's like, have you ever been there and you're wondering, how do I respond? What am I supposed to do, right? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I just want you to listen to God's word and make up your mind. Here's what it says. It says, he goes on, it says, he gets all this flour, kneads it, and bakes some bread. And now, remember, he's got all kinds of servants, doesn't he? He's got 318 men who were fighting for him before. Does he outsource this? He doesn't outsource this. He says, Julie, I guess that's kind of outsourcing, right? If you have your wife do that. Hey, make some bread, right? But the other stuff, he's not just leaving this to other people, he's walking the walk here. Then he ran. He didn't stumble over, he didn't wander. He got up and ran. He's a 99-year-old guy running. I don't even know what that looks like, right? I don't know if he's got one of those fancy walkers that's got like a motor in it. I don't know how he's doing this, but he takes off running. And it says he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf. He doesn't just look to see what's in the fridge and, you know, pop in, I got some extra beanie weenies. He goes out and he takes a calf. Then he brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared, and he set them before them. While they ate, he stood there near them under the tree. So while they're eating, he puts all this food in front of them, and then he stands up in front of them. He's the waiter. He doesn't outsource this to other people. He is going to show, I care about you, right? You matter. You matter. Wow. Now things take a twist. While they ate, he stood near them under the tree. Then it says, where is your wife Sarah? Now, if I got a stranger comes to my house, I don't know this guy, right? And out of nowhere, during the conversation, he pops up, and I don't know him from anybody. And they're eating, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm getting them some extra food or something like that. And then they say, "Where's your wife Sarah?" And my wife Sarah. First of all, how do you know my wife? We might be throwing paws here soon. First of all, how do you know my wife? But second, how do you know her name's Sarah? Because her name was just changed by God just in the last chapter. She was Sarai. So something is amiss here. So all of a sudden, he's like, oh, there's only one person that knows this, that my wife is Sarah. This is Jesus. This person is the pre-incarnate Jesus Christ before. Now, how do you know it's not the Father? He says, Lord. Well, we know that we haven't seen, nobody sees the Father. Nobody has seen him, right? You have seen Jesus. And so this is Jesus. That's all right. Put that back. There in the tent, he said, Now he knows who it is. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Sarah is about 90 years old. All right? So, God's word, what is God's word? God's word says you will have a son. Next year you will have a son. That's what God said. How do you respond to that? Because that's got to be the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. I've met quite a few people in their 90s, known some people in their hundreds. How many of you known anybody like 105 or more? 103, 104? You know somebody 104?
I have a great uncle special who's
102? Wow. Anybody have a grandma or anybody that's 90? Anybody have somebody that's 90? Yeah. And you had a relative that's 90? Did you ever think that grandma might have a baby? Maybe her child and her would both be wearing diapers at the same time? Right? You ever thought about that? Right? I don't know, but this is not possible. She's thinking, wait a second. This can't happen. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. God's word, let me put it to you this way, what she's thinking in her mind is God's word is ridiculous. What God is saying, it's just crazy talk. I don't believe what you're saying, God. Actually, you know what? What you're saying, it's a joke. Now Sarah was listening in the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. So she's doing what a lot of wives would do. She's eavesdropping on the conversation from back behind the thing. She's listening. He said, oh, and he said, what did he say? He says, basically, I'm going to come back next year and you're going to be a mommy. You're going to have a baby. Abram and Sarah were very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing, so she laughed to herself. She didn't laugh out loud, right? She didn't laugh out loud. She laughed just in her heart. You think, well, it's okay what happens internally, right? If I doubt God internally, or if I talk internally and I doubt, or if I mock God, or if I laugh at God internally, it's not a big deal. It is. Jesus hears this. Jesus hears the mocking. He hears the doubt. He hears the, not just doubt. This goes beyond doubt. This is, you know what, God, you're funny. You know, you're a joke. I think your word is a joke. Bottom line, that's what he's saying. Watch this. She laughs. Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? Now she believes God about some stuff, doesn't she? Does Sarah believe God's word sometimes? Yes, she believes part of God's word. She believes the stuff in God's word that makes natural, physical sense. Okay?